Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Rob, and as you can tell by the title, the thumbnail, we are doing a blind tonight. Not just any blind, not whiskey versus whiskey. We are doing a triangle blind. So my wife was nice enough to pour one of these whiskeys into two glasses, the other whiskey into the other glass, and there's a couple of different objectives tonight. One is to see, do I like this whiskey better than this whiskey? And we'll get into that in just a second. Why a lot of people would say you should, and you probably will. The other reason is to just kind of test your palate. When you do a triangle blind and you have two pours that are exactly the same and one that's different, of a similar type of bourbon, you know, a wheated bourbon, similar proof, can you pick out the two that are exactly the same? And just makes it kind of fun. I like doing this blind, and I've not done it on camera before, but I've done it with a lot of friends, so I thought I wanted to come on the channel and do this. And the reason I like this one is obviously we talk about Weller, very popular bourbon. Anybody who drinks bourbon, chases bourbon, is a tater, knows this. But very hard to find, right? Any Weller product for the most part. Certain regions get certain bottles, but when you start getting into the Antique 107, the full proofs, the Weller 12s, things like that, very hard to find. Several years ago, could find them on the shelf periodically, especially during allocated season. And there is a season where these types of bottles get dropped, you know, a lot more. You start to see them in the market. It's usually starts around early to mid-October and goes through, you know, January of the following year. So you got, you know, a good solid 3.5 months of what we consider allocated season. And you try to hunt, you try to find these, and I'll tell you, on the podcast, We'd Want a Whiskey podcast, I recently, a couple months ago, did an episode where I said why I'm over bourbon. And not over bourbon in the sense of drinking bourbon, but the fun, the thrill of the hunt to go out and during that allocated season and try to find bourbons. It just, you can't do it anymore. And listen to that episode on the podcast if you'd like to. But for tonight, I thought it would be a lot of fun to talk about a bourbon that is highly sought after, very coveted, and thought to be just outstanding, which is Weller Antique 107, 107 proof. And if I'm not wrong, I think the age on these are somewhere between that 6 and 8 year range. I think it can vary a little bit, versus Maker's Cask strength, which is also 100, well, about 110, just under 110 proof. This one is, oh, excuse me, this one is actually right on 110 proof. So similar in proof point, also around that 6 to 7 year age on the Maker's Mark. But both wheated bourbons, both from quality producers, both very, very good. Here's the big difference, right? Everybody's going, okay, well, why are we doing this? This one, as I said, very hard to find. Good luck, right? And a lot of times, you know, MSRP on this bottle right now is probably about $50 to $60, but you're probably not going to find it for that. If you want this bottle, you're going to be over $100 paying for this. This bottle, find it everywhere you want to go, and most of your big box stores still have it at a really good price, which is about that $38 to $40 range. But even if you can't find it at a big box store and you're at a smaller liquor store, they still have it right at $50, maybe sub 50, but right around that $50 mark, which is still a great price for this bourbon. So I thought it'd be kind of fun. We'll go through and nose these, see what's our favorite on the nose. Can we pick out the two that are exactly the same from the nose? And then we'll do the same thing on the palate, and I'll make a call on which one I think is my favorite, and then I'll try to call which two I think are the same two. And then we'll go ahead and do the reveal after that. So let's go ahead and give me a few minutes. We'll nose these and we'll be right back. The one thing that jumps out at me when I start thinking about Weller products is the cherries that I get on their nose. I mean, it just screams cherry. So obviously if I'm doing that on that first one, you think I think it's Weller. And yeah, I do. I think it might be a Weller product. This one's a little bit different. Similar nose. Ooh. Okay, interesting. Okay. So, on the nose, just, I think if you take too long trying to nose this and figure it out, really thinking about it, you just end up confusing yourself. So I'm going to say these two are the same pour. Same whiskey in these two classes, B and C. I think A is the different one. So we're going to go through on the palate now and see what we think there. Both of these really good bourbons, so I know I'm not going to be disappointed either way. Again, point of this is just to let you know, man, if you're chasing a good wheated bourbon, and Weller is that, and it's hard to find, if you haven't had the Maker's Mark yet, you need to go, especially the cask strength. And the reason I say the cask strength, because it is at that, most of these are around that 110 proof, that 110 proof point. So really comparable. But, some people might go, well, why not just the regular Wellers? The regular Maker's Mark. Well, now we're getting down to that 90 proof point. And for me, I think bourbons in that 100 to 120 proof point range is my sweet spot. That's really where I enjoy them and like them. So this hits right on that, right in the middle at 110. And, like this bourbon, can't find it. Can find this all day long, so I'm going to enjoy it. And I thought I'd share this with you all. All right, first one on the palate. I took a little second there just because first sip of the night, kind of getting the palate a little bit acclimated. And we'll go in for a second one. Okay. Very good. Just trying to let it linger on the back of the palate. It has a long length on it. So I taste that first one, and then you taste the second one, A and B. A, to me, a little more rounded, a little bit more complexity to it. And also, I think just a little bit more, kind of finished, elegant on the palate. It doesn't have that bite. B has that bite quite a bit, which to me can be a little unpleasant, but it could just be my palate needing to get adjusted a little bit too. So we'll go back into B for another one. Yeah, okay. Second sip. A lot better. Doesn't have that bite. I think it's my palate still getting adjusted. Very nice, but I would still say similar type of profile, but here it's just a little bit more muted, where here it pops a little bit more in A. I still think B and C are the same. So let's see. Yeah, A definitely has a little more richness on it. You get this viscosity on the palate a little bit more, a little more oil on my palate as well, which I enjoy. Let's go to C and see how that compares to A. Yeah, okay. I mean, honestly, both of them very good bourbons. On the palate, I said on the nose, I think these two are the same, B and C. On the palate, I absolutely think B and C are the same bourbon. We're about to find out if I'm going to call my shot and say what I think it is. Okay. I'm going to say A is, this is harder than you think. I think they're both really, really good. I'm going to say A is Maker's Mark, and B and C are the Weller. So let me do this. Let me get the key, the sheet that my wife wrote on, and we'll come back and reveal this real quick. Okay, and here's the thing. Again, I'm doing this just to kind of illustrate that these whiskeys aren't that far apart, and to me they're not. If I'm wrong, if this is not Maker's Mark and it is the Weller, still these two are very, very solid bourbons. Bourbons I would enjoy drinking anytime, and I would pour for myself at home. Keep a bottle of this all the time. So whether I get it wrong or right, we're about to find out. But I'm thinking A is the Makers and the B and C are the Wellers. And let's hope I get it right. Okay. just goes to show you why we do the triangle blind. A and B, and let me make sure I have these right. Yeah, A and B. That's why, I mean, if you're a whiskey drinker, if you're a bourbon drinker, doing a triangle blind, I mean, it's just crazy how your palate just can mess with you. And I'm saying that because A and B are actually both makers, and I liked A the best. C was the Maker's Mark, which blows me away, but also shows you why it's so much fun to do a triangle blind in addition. But again, I'm happy that my favorite, was the Maker's Mark cask strength. And again, the point of this episode was to, and just so you can see what I have here, and I'm telling you the truth. You can see that the Maker's Mark A and B, and the C is the Weller Antique 107. And again, just fun to do, but hey, I'm glad it proved the point. Again, I'll tell you, I've done this blind like 4 times, and I'll be honest and tell you, I haven't had either one of these whiskeys. It's been a few months since I poured one of these, and so I'm not coming into it having had one here recently where I could pick it out. So I think it was a very subjective and fair kind of blind coming into it. And once again, for, I don't know, 4 or 5 times in a row doing this over the last few years, Maker's Mark comes out on top as a bourbon that, to me, in my palate, I just tend to like better than the Antique 107. So if you're out hunting and looking for this, and you're actually a bourbon drinker, and when I say actually a bourbon drinker, I mean you really want to not just have a trophy on the shelf, you want to pour it and drink it, you may give this a shot if you haven't already, the Maker's Mark, because you may be a little bit surprised and find out, hey, you know what? I need to start keeping a bottle of this on the bar and pouring it for myself and pouring it for friends when they come over. Outstanding bourbon. All right, if you haven't done this blind, I hope this helps you a little bit. If you haven't had Maker's Mark cask strength, I'd say go look for it, find it, give it a try. If it's something, Weller's that you've had and you want another bottle of it, and, again, hard to find, this is a great substitute. I'm not saying if you find this, absolutely buy the bottle. They're fun to have. They're fun to keep on the shelf. They're cool because they are so limited. But if you're a bourbon drinker and you want to drink something you're really going to enjoy, and you say you enjoy this bottle, this is a great alternative. And I'd love to see in the comments, have you ever done this blind? And if you have, share with me your results. If you haven't, let me know if you will, if you have a bottle of this. And I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are. All right, appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, really appreciate that. If you don't mind subscribing, click the like, click the notification. You'll get notified when I put out new videos. But other than that, you guys have a great night. We'll see you on the next one.